Hello, I'm Matt Banacoro with Waves Factory, and welcome to Harmonix. A collection of harmonics from a variety of different guitars. Now, as you see, I've got a bass, an acoustic guitar, and an electric guitar. This instrument is going to be my new jam because harmonics are something that even as a world's most okayest guitarist, I can just never pull off well enough to use in a recording. So having access to the guitar harmonics across the board is really great. And it's a really cool, unique sound to have a bass harmonic, an acoustic harmonic, and an electric harmonic all at the same time. Now, as you saw, you can disable any of them just by clicking on the picture. So if I want to hear just the electric one, I can get that. But if I want to switch to just some bass harmonics, I can get that too. And of course, all three at once. Now, with all three at once, you might want to be able to mix between them. Don't worry, it's not just disabling and enabling. I've got a fully functional mixer here, and I can even pan them so that the electric is a little bit to the right, the bass is a little to the left, to give it a little spatial awareness. And I can completely adjust the volume there. I can also disable the instruments from the mixer screen as well. This is different from muting or soloing any of them temporarily. Now at the bottom, I've got the doubler. Now that's going to enable a really, really wide stereo effect. So if I go ahead and turn the acoustic on, let's go to a single note and turn the doubler all the way off. It's a little thin. I'll turn on that doubler. And as you can hear, I've got two notes now and spread out a little more. Add that doubler turned on for each one, and you've got a really, really big, wide, and powerful stereo effect. Now, I can just click the mixer to disable it. As you can tell, I've already got some effects loaded up. So I'll click on the effects page. You can see I've got access to a master bus effect, as well as effects for each individual instrument. A whole chain for everything. So on the master right now, I've got a limiter and reverb and delay. I can just disable them temporarily, or I can take them out completely if I want to by clicking the little X. But I can also put effects on individual instruments. So if I go to the electric and I decide, you know what, I really just want to get, a modulation effect just on that electric, like a phaser, I can do that. So now only the electric has that effect. If I go back to the electric, there's that underwater sound that I love that comes from the phaser. In fact, I'm going to leave that on for a while. Now, some of you might have already noticed that sequencer page here. That's related to this little group of blue keys down the bottom here on the left. They're disabled by default, but if you press any of them, they will enable a sequencer. And you see it's highlighted in purple there. So now I've got this first sequencer preset. And I can cycle through. And I've got full control of it. All right, I can swap through the presets and work on them one at a time, or I can sit and dial in that preset. And you'll notice the acoustic, the electric, and the bass all have different steps available to me. I can decide how many steps. I can decide whether it's going random, up to down. So if I put a little, like a chord in there, you can hear it running through that and arpeggiating straight up. If I switch it to up and then down, there you go. And I can just swap the tempo right here, so I can make those steps worth eighth notes, so it should be half as fast now. Yep, there we go. And of course, restrict the amount of steps and adjust the unison percentage right there. Now, on the settings page, I'm going to first of all turn off the sequence. Now, you do that just by hitting the note again. There we go. Sequence off. I hit the notes. No sequence. I've got access to 4 different layers of round robin. So right now, if I restrict that to a single layer, I can save a little bit on system resources, but you'll notice it's using the same exact note every time, the same harmonic. And as you know, when a human plays an instrument, even if they're playing the same note more than once, there's always going to be a little bit of variation, especially a stringed instrument where you're putting your finger on the fret, how hard you're holding the string, the amount of buzz. all of that can vary a lot, and we need the round robin in order to give us that realism. So when I play a single note over and over, there's a slightly different attack to it each time, and that brings the realism. The velocity curve allows me to decide whether or not I ever want to get to those higher velocity samples or lower velocity samples, so I can restrict if I want to. If I'm worried that when I hit it hard, there's a little string buzz in there and distortion to those samples, so I can restrict so that I never get there, no matter how hard I play. The other thing is I've got the ability to tailor my response to fit my MIDI controller. So if you find that you have a MIDI controller that is favoring the lower velocity samples, you can adjust the curve so that you get to the higher velocity samples a little easier. And of course, vice versa. Now, I can also restrict the dynamic range. So if I'm worried that I'm going to lose some of my quieter notes in the middle of a dense mix, I can decide, hey, don't let it get down to those choir notes. Stay with the higher velocity notes even when you play softer. But of course, if you want the maximum expressiveness out of the instrument, you're going to want to crank up that dynamic range. Finally, you can adjust the envelope. So right now, I'm adjusting all the articulations at once. It's very percussive. So if I slow down that attack, I get that cool zipper effect. Everyone's going to ask you what's that cool synth plugin you're using, but you'll know the difference. All right, let's cycle them off so we can just take a look here. Now, you can also adjust the articulation. So if you want to adjust just the electric guitar, so maybe only the acoustic guitar has the attack you don't like, but you decide the electric guitar attack is fine, you can adjust them all separately. And the release too. If you don't want them to hang around as long, you can go ahead and pull back that release. So it's a very customizable instrument that allows you unique access to some really cleanly played harmonics.